Hi there, and welcome to Bridges to Community. I am Erica Lab, Executive Director of Bridges by Epic in Westford, and I am truly happy to see you all again for another long-awaited episode.
Thank you, Erica. I'm Sarah Turcott. I'm the Community Area Liaison for Bridges by Epic, and we are so happy to be back at it with our Bridges to Community show. I hope you've all been doing well. Erica, do you want to share a little bit with our viewers a little bit about what we've been up to during this pandemic? It's been a long time since we've seen our audience.
It's true, Sarah. And Sarah and I are actually in the same building right now. We're at Bridges by Epic in Westford, but in the interest of safety and so that you can see our faces, we are filming from different rooms so that we could take our masks off and enjoy talking to you. But as you know, as all of us know, it has been a challenging year, almost a year, and since we last met for Bridges to Community. So even though this is a little different and not how we're used to meeting you all, we are happy to be here and so kind of getting back on track with getting you information that might be helpful to you in this very trying time. So as Sarah mentioned, we've been hard at work. We've been coming to work ever since the pandemic began. Really getting started back in March with the social distancing and all of these new mandates that all of us have had to get used to. We've been very lucky in that we know that long-term care communities have been hit very hard. We have been lucky in that we have suites for each of our residents, so our residents don't share personal space. And that during this pandemic, we've been able to enjoy community with obviously lots of changes, but the setup of our building has allowed our residents to continue to enjoy at most times a fairly active lifestyle, unlike the rest of us at home. So in so many ways, we feel very blessed and lucky that we're here at Bridges in Westford and that our residents have weathered this fairly well. So we also are lucky that Sarah and the rest of the team here have been able to continue with outreach. And we have changed the way we do things a little bit, but we're still available to the community. So please, if you have any lingering questions after this wonderful session that you're going to get a real treat today on our show, that if you have any questions or you need help, please don't hesitate to call us and we can put the number right up on the screen here for you. And we'll be happy to help you and assist you personally with what's going on. So it has been a challenging year for all of us. And we hope this show today will help you navigate this as we move forward.
We as healthcare professionals, we are caregivers. And our guest that we have brought on today has been someone that our organization has relied on heavily when it comes to supporting caregivers in the local community. I think it's safe to say that our community holds many caregivers, whether you're caring for an elderly loved one, a child, a sibling. Caregiving can be tough stuff. And I'm so thrilled to introduce our guest, Alicia Seaver. She is the Vice President of Memory Care for Bridges by Epic. She has over 20 years of memory care experience. She is certified with the National Institute on Aging as a memory impairment specialist and is state certified in Massachusetts and Florida as an Alzheimer's and related dementia trainer. So we are thrilled to have you, Alicia. Thank you so much for being here.
Our studio is going wild, Alicia.
Yeah, I love that. No, I can hear it.
But what's been great with Alicia and for what we've done is, as Erica mentioned, a lot of our support programs that we do and offer here at Bridges is geared towards caregivers. And Alicia has supported us in many ways, which we'll talk more about, but I want to dive right in and just ask Alicia, what can you share with our audience? You support a lot of caregivers. What is something that's coming up as the most common struggle some of the caregivers have faced during this pandemic?
That's a great question. First and foremost, thanks for having me. I couldn't be happier than to be with the two of you. And I truly am the lucky one to partner with people like you and Erica that share a passion. Anywho, back to the question. I think we're blessed in that we do get to hear from caregivers all over in the last 10 or so months, right? And how hard this has been for them. And how hard they're trying to do things differently, just like we are. And I can't imagine, I know how much it hurts us as professionals to look at sometimes what's difficult and what we can't fight and what's happening to our residents, right, on our campuses. But for folks at home, I feel like that's such a burden for them to carry. They're watching day in and day out the decline of their memory impaired person that they love. And I'm sure that creates a lot of angst. Like when you look at, the turmoil that it creates for us, just being healthcare professionals that having to care about what we're doing. And then I think about a family member, it's a whole nother thing. Sensitive to how that feels.
Absolutely. And I know one of the things we hear, regardless if you care for a memory impaired loved one or who you're caring for, I hear a lot of people are struggling with isolation.
Sure, they're alone, or the places that they used to rely upon aren't open, doing what they normally do. So that, the things that families maybe used to use to be in data situation that can be a challenge aren't available. I can't imagine for a lot of people, that's everything that they rely upon that time, for them to be and do what they need to be and do for themselves.
Absolutely.
And it was a problem before the pandemic, really and truly. Like that was one of the things I think that all of us were working on anyway, the isolation, the social isolation. So particularly with people with dementia, we know that it gets harder to navigate social settings so that you retreat home. And now on top of it, you add this just incredible layer of isolation for all of us. And then to your point, there's less out there to help.
Right.
And it's been going on so long.
It has been going on a long time. And the other thing that we need to consider is that for memory impaired people specific and what isolation does to them, and how many families didn't know until now or these last months. I can't even. I can't. I'm sensitive to that for them. We have each other and so many means to be supportive of one another and brainstorm and look at what we're doing at the community level for our memory impaired people differently, right? Because we see it and feel it.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's hard for them.
What are some things that you've been recommending, Alicia, for families to assist with the day-to-day life, those kind of long days, the 36-hour day, or, just the long days, or so there's some tricks and tools that you could share with us that you've shared with families to try to navigate those long days for people that are home really most of the time?
I think there's a lot of things we can do differently. And I think that the three of us are doing it with our children. And I think that we need to look at memory impaired seniors and understand that they thrive on rhythm and routine. And none of us, we don't have to be an activities professional to schedule and routine at home. I think that we build in time. We've spent a lot of time in the last month supporting families and saying, do something different every hour, change it up. Keep a basket of items that please and engage so that you have these things at your fingertips. Build in time for yourself, all those kinds of things. But I really think embracing the time and looking at it differently because of how much of it we're spending at home together. And people need to, I'm doing that at home, and there's not a memory impairment here yet. Because I'm a better person if I know what to expect. And so isn't my 11-year-old child. And I know that for memory impaired people, at 10 o'clock, we're going to change it up and we're going to, do some dancercise or whatever it is specific to the person.
Yeah.
And activity. So, going to get the newspaper at the end of the driveway is an activity. Looking at the newspaper is an activity. Making your coffee, that's all stuff you can add to your schedule.
Yep.
That you could do every day. And so that when you wake up in the morning, you kind of know, like, oh yeah, this is when I put on my slippers and I go get the paper, or I make the coffee. That's all part of your day.
And it's meaningful, isn't it? I mean, when you think about, especially the three of us with our experience with the early stage forgetter and programs where they follow a guide, and how empowered it makes someone feel to walk over to the table and pick up the paper, and how normal it feels to sit down with that cup of coffee that you just made because you used the cue, which is the guide to get through it. There's benefits to that we know of, but even memory impaired people, it might be a little more progressed. Family member caregivers can still benefit from a routine. Oh, he's still engaged in I Love Lucy for another 15 minutes, so I can call my sister and spend 15 minutes in a cup of tea with her.
You are watching Bridges to Community.
At Bridges by Epic, we focus on helping and supporting families and people living with dementia and Alzheimer's.
We have educational programs and support groups free of charge to everyone in the community if you need support caring for a loved one at home.
We solely focus on bringing quality of life and joy, as well as support to family members. Many of our programs, which were once held in person, such as our caregiver support group and caregiver education, have all been brought to the virtual platform right here on Zoom.
We can reach you and your loved ones in your home, so you don't even have to leave the house to get support. Hopefully, you'll get a lot of support from our show, Bridges to Community. You can watch old episodes, and believe me, we're going to have more coming your way. So stay tuned.
Thank you so much for tuning into our show, and we look forward to seeing you more this year.
Thank you.
Oh, I was going to say, it really kind of brings up, I had a question for you that it kind of segues into this. What advice can you give to caregivers when it comes to building a network and a support? I find that caregivers, it can be hard. They oftentimes say it takes a village, but sometimes it can be hard to ask for help. So what advice would you give with building a group of support for caregivers?
That's probably the bingo bango question of the day, right? Because we're talking about a generation of my parents, and they're not reacher outers. They're just not. And now we're saying reach out, and we want you to talk about your feelings and share all your family secrets and all these other things. The truth of the matter is this: the more we talk about what we're living, the better we're living it. The more, for any of us. So, and we've seen the value of that, right, in our support groups. And you don't have to be an active participant. You can be a passive participant in a support group and still reap the benefits of the support. So I encourage that, because I think that, especially ours, not that I'm going to plug them or anything, but ours are so organic. Like, there's no pressure for people to share, even when they're live at the community. We host a support group for the caregiver. We're not putting people on the spot, share your business. And I think when you can afford that opportunity, and then organically, because people trust the environment, it happens. That's a huge piece. The other piece for me, for family member caregivers or caregivers, is education. And, the more information you can take about anything that we're facing, probably the easier it's going to be for us, no matter what we're looking at. And I think that we spend a lot of time sharing the education with families around dementia and the like, and people are receptive, and I feel like it empowers folks. I hope that's part of the goal. I hope that it empowers folks, because it is people still helping community, and like that's rich. The other thing that I focus on, and I know you two do, and other people should, the better job we do here, the better job we're going to do.
Mhm.
If there's a bottom line to caregiving and sustenance, and we need to take care of ourselves, and everybody's recipe is different.
Mm.
And I'm not here to dictate a recipe, but I love a support group. I do love talking with people that understand. I get a very different vibe from the two of you because you live what I live every day
Mhm.
than I would engaging with people that don't understand what we do.
Sure.
So I hope that for people, because I find and I see the results and how much more empowered and supported people feel by engaging in those things, even though different, or maybe they
I do. I mean, Erica, we used to host our caregiver support group right in house, and it has gone to the virtual platform. And I'm sure Erica can share. We've had people that would come in and absolutely, share the struggles and the challenges they were facing. And we would have people that would attend that would just, say their name and that they were a caregiver, but by simply attending, they felt that they weren't alone. And I think that's huge. There's, even power, like you said, you don't have to, share everything or spill all your guts, but just being there and hearing and knowing you're not alone. Wouldn't you agree, Erica?
I totally would. And one of the gifts of this time has been watching how we've had to transform, particularly those groups. So Alicia has done us the wonderful favor of hosting these groups that we did in the building, which of course for so long hasn't been a safe option. And so you have higher participation because you can just log on and turn your screen off and listen. And you're still, you could listen from the exercise machine or the bathtub. You can really get the benefits of it and not participate until you're ready. And I'm sure Alicia sees people that started with, screen off on mute, that then maybe unmuted, that then maybe shared their story. So that's just such a great opportunity being now virtual, as much as we miss seeing people in person, that to share. And the groups have gotten so much bigger because it's allowed people that otherwise couldn't get here to participate. And what a gift that has been.
Mhm.
To see how many people
need.
Of course, absolutely. I think it's multi-layered for sure.
I agree. I agree with Erica, especially on that. The virtual platform makes it easier for people. I do agree with that because there's no other way to explain for the attendance what the need.
Mhm.
When you're alone and you're living it in the day, and it's 3:30 in the afternoon and it's gray out, and your husband is symptomatic of whatever it is he's living, and you have been at it since 7:30 in the morning, and you just don't feel like you have it. I don't think the virtual platform will ever go away because there are so many people that are stuck. They don't have the opportunity to just drive over to the community and get in front of Erica or yourself and get live, help.
And the virtual allows you to literally just hang up if you get in there's an emergency. You just sign off, and that's okay.
Yeah. And we also reach back out because we do see that, caregivers, they might have to hop off, but you have folks in the community who will reach back out and say, did you get all the information you needed? Or would you like a copy of the presentation? So, knowing those resources. And, it made me think it really brings up a big thing that comes up for caregivers, which is caregiver stress and burnout. We talk about these programs that we offer, from education to support group, and it's really to help support that caregiver. And Alicia, can you share with the caregivers maybe some signs that they should look for to maybe understand they may be experiencing caregiver stress or burnout?
Absolutely. I think that I'm hopeful that folks know themselves well enough to know. Just speaking for myself, I can feel myself. And when I'm engaged with a memory impaired person, if I feel my stress level coming up, it usually comes through my shoulder. I can feel it. And I know that I either need to do something about it right in the moment, or I need to pull out of it. Because if I don't, I'm going to share that. with the memory impaired person I'm trying to make results with. So things I look for in myself, if I have a shorter fuse, if things that didn't bother me yesterday seem to bother me today, if I don't have the energy, and I normally have energy, if my appetite and my sleep, like I look at those things, I'm a very regular 8. I feel like a very regular 8 in my life. Everything is pretty regular and 8. And when if my rhythm isn't right, 8 hours sleep, size 8, all 8s, like I'm not the same at the end. So I feel like folks need to pay attention to their rhythms so that when you feel that feeling in your chest, like, oh, I just need like 15 seconds, or I'm looking for the time before that feeling. I haven't had that feeling in a very long time on the job, in years actually, because I look for signs before I get that. So I want other folks to be watchful for, what is it for you? Are you, how does stress manifest itself in you in the moment? And then what do you look like when that's happening? And what kinds of things can you do differently?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Because so all of a sudden you're identifying it, and what are some ways you give advice to caregivers when it comes to caring for themselves and being aware and things they can do to maybe de-stress?
Take a time out. I feel like it's universal. It's like you choking, time out. Like, take a time out. If you're a caregiver, family member of a memory impaired person, you're important. You're more important than you probably ever are going to know. And when you need to take a break, you need to turn around and take a break and switch up the music and walk away. I love a family member caregiver that says, I just made my bathroom upstairs like a retreat, and it's a place I go, and it's big enough. I have candles in there, all the things that I enjoy, and I can retreat to that room for 10 minutes and come out another person. A couple of magazines that I love, or maybe it's a quick phone conversation, but finding that quick respite, 5-10 minutes to get your head back. We do that. We do that as professionals when we have feeling our feelings, because we don't want to bring our feelings to the memory impaired people we're serving, especially if they're not positive, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a matter of just knowing it's okay to pause and to say, you know what, you're human. You're a human being. We chose to do this, the 3 of us, but that doesn't mean that every family member caregiver that's living this chose it. So to embrace their humaneness, take the break, do what's good for you for a minute, and work in that time. Work in 15 minutes in the morning where you can really set a solid plan for yourself that day. Find respites for yourself around the 15s if you have to. Talking to other people that care about you. How therapeutic is that for all of us? When you're able to sit down and really say to someone that cares about you, here's what's bothering me. I don't even need anything. I just need you to hear me. Cuts it right smack down the middle. So to do these kinds of things and do things that feel good. If you try something like the support group and it feels good, then you try it again. Reading. Take 15 minutes and read something positive that's going to fill your cup.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that because so it's one of the multiple challenges right now is that, like, normally you might have a couple people that you could call and say, can you come to the house, and cover for me for an hour so I can go grocery shopping or whatever it is. And a lot of us have lost those people because they're not in our bubble. We're too afraid of COVID to invite someone into the home or what have you. But it may be that, with fresh baked cookies and a Zoom call with the grandchildren, your loved one is occupied for 25 minutes. Don't sit there and supervise. Go to the bathroom and light your candles.
Or your retreat space.
Your retreat space, wherever that is. Go then. That's when you go and you say to whoever's, monitoring the call or whoever's got your loved one on the phone, say, listen, if there's an emergency, you call my cell. I'll have it in the room with me, and use that time for an escape. Sometimes we kind of hover. I know, like Alicia was saying with children, like, I have a child who's home all the time. So if the grandparent's going to call, I'm like, peace out, enjoy your call. I'm going to go fold laundry, or I'm going to go, have a glass of wine and read my book. So use those little nuggets of time to your advantage, because they're so hard to come by right now.
Sure.
Absolutely. I was going to say that recipe is good for anyone. Most especially we're living the life of, kids doing remote, schooling, and, everyone, regardless of who you're caregiving, it's knowing your signs and having, that plan and what you're able to do to bring yourself that inner peace, for sure. This is great. We're getting close to on time. So really, I think we talked about a lot of the great resources. I know here at Bridges, we offer, education, caregiver support groups for the early stage forgetter. We're even bringing activities to people's homes by doing virtual memory cafes. And really just encouraging, even if you're not caring for someone who's memory impaired, to reach out to your community. Wouldn't you say, ladies, there's so many resources, especially now being close to a year in, there's a lot of programs and resources, whether it be, your local senior center, council on aging, your local schools. Many places have programs for support, and even tough needs. Families are not going hungry because the schools are helping with that. So tap into those local resources. And if you're a caregiver and you're looking to be pointed in the right direction, reach out. We're always happy to give you that advice. And really, before we wrap up, Alicia, we're just so thankful to you and all that you do for caregivers. And just curious, Erica and I were talking, what keeps you motivated? How do you continue to give all that you give to caregivers and support the way that you do? And don't bat an eyelash, it seems.
Leave it to you two to have that question at the end. You know what? My why is our memory impaired person. That's my first why. They are the reason I drive in and listen to disco on my way, so that I bring them the best mojo I have, when I get there. The second why for me is the person that doesn't choose this. I chose this. I made a conscious choice to serve memory impaired people a long time ago. And so didn't you. And we have families every day killing themselves, trying to take care of and know how to take care of a memory impaired person and live the life that they're living at the same time. And we're fortunate, right? We're fortunate to work for an organization where we're afforded an opportunity to do our jobs that our name badges say, and then to do these other jobs out in the community, bringing people together, because that's really what it is. So there's my why. And then my third why is, you know what my third why is. My third why is people like you. And when I meet people that are passionate about memory impaired people, it's a super bond to have, and I'm blessed.
Unfortunately, we had just a little glitch there. Thank you, Zoom. So sorry about that, but we had a great time having Alicia on the show. So thank you, Alicia.
We really enjoyed having Alicia, and just the new age and new problems that we have facing technical difficulties. But it was so great to have Alicia on the show, and we hope you can join us next time. Thanks for joining.
And bye-bye, everyone.